Hi guys, welcome back to LR Live, and in today's Tricked Out Tuesday episode, it's a little bit different because I've just returned from picking up the new Project 110 Defender. Now, as you'll see in that episode, which will come out in a couple of days, I did actually buy it off a friend of mine who's got a 90, and we did a major project while I was down there. So, check it out. Today we've got something a little bit different. I don't know if you know this, but if you've seen some of the other videos, we're actually picking up today our Project 110. Now, I've come all the way down to Norfolk. It was a 6.5 hour journey on train and taxi yesterday. I've turned up today. Simon is the guy that I've bought the vehicle from. He's actually a friend of mine, and we've done some negotiating, and part of the deal is that LR Parts have supplied him with a conversion kit to turn his 90 TD5. Yes, he does have more than one Defender, lucky man. We're going to be turning his 90 TD5 into a soft top. So today we're just going to be looking at removing the top off the Defender, which you can see behind me here. We're going to be taking the roof off. We're going to be fitting a swing away wheel carrier on the back and also a side opening tailgate. This roof appears to have been taken off before, and we can tell that because actually this mastic in here, so there's a sealer that sits between the roof and the top of the windscreen rail. That's got a mastic, a hard mastic sealer in there, and that was already broken. So what you'd need to do to actually remove a roof is, what I used to do is get a Stanley knife and run it as deep as I can, take several passes with a Stanley knife, keep running it through here, cutting into the mastic. It'll have gone hard, so it's not soft. So just run it into there as many times as you can, come right round the corner here, keep scoring and go as deep as you can, and eventually you'll get deep enough to actually just break that seal, and this front cab will lift off, and you'll show you that when we actually take it off ourselves. So this is a swing away door from DDS. It comes with a galvanised capping on the top, which is a nice touch, but obviously you've got to etch prime all of the aluminium and the galv. So we've T-washed the galv because obviously it's new, and rather than leave it out in the weather for about 4 to 6 months, we've used T-wash to give it some sort of weather, some oxidization, which means obviously when you've got the paint on there, that'll stick better, and with the actual acid etch, that's all you need. So yeah, it's a very hot day today, so as long as we're not in direct sunlight, this should go off pretty quick. So you've got obviously the slider rail there for the door retainer, the check strap. That'll sort of fit where the original one went on the full door. You've got all the drilled through and piloted tubes there through the actual door itself to support the hinges. But yeah, it might be worth moving forwards to put a couple of drain holes in the bottom there and to actually cavity fill that with some wax oil. That's what I'd be doing, just to make sure, because obviously they are sealed, but you've got holes in here, so it is going to allow moisture to get into there. And if you take it off road, you're going to get water in this lower piece. You've obviously seen your existing doors on your Defender, so it's no different. So it might just be worth, as it's a brand new door, just a couple of little pilot holes at the bottom there, drain holes, and then actually fill it with some cavity wax or some wax oil. They are such a fun thing to have with the roof off. They really are, these 90s. And if you've not experienced it yourself, then it's definitely worth considering. I'll just show you now around quickly. Now the roof's off, you'll be able to see where the fixing points are a bit easier. You've got a rear point here, fixing point here, and at the front B-pillar position you've got a fixing point here. Obviously, again, you've got the fixing point on the top of the windscreen there, and then we mentioned the ones on the top rail as well. And that's it really. Once they're removed, as I said before, here's the loom for the wiring for the back, so that's just tucked up out of the way. And on the other side, we've removed the hose for the washer jet. So obviously runs down here, and that's been removed now. So we are all ready to go. So obviously today is part one of this video. We're not going to be fitting the roll cage. It's not quite ready yet, but once the roll cage is ready, we're going to be coming back, fitting that and the canvas. We're going to show you how that's done. But for today, we're going to be fitting this rear tailgate and a swing away carrier. So according to the very simplified instructions, I mean, just to point out, guys, at Britpart, that does not look anything like this. I mean, it's not even close. I don't know quite who drew that, but it doesn't even look similar. So it makes you question whether you got the right part. Never mind. So we've worked it out now anyway. So we're going to be mounting this. So this part here, we have to remove this reflector and remount that later. These two chassis mount bolts, so this is the rear cross member where it bolts to the body. They have to be removed and they'll actually go through this way round. They'll sit through there. Now the reason I know that's right, even though the drawing on the instructions is so poor, is these two holes here are slightly higher. And if we had it run this way, which is quite possible to do if you weren't sure, the NAS light, the fog light's in the way, so we know that that's not right. So we're going to fit it on here. And also I know how these fit because the actual arm has to hit that rubber bush. But it could easily be fitted incorrectly and it wouldn't be your fault. So hopefully this is going to save you that trouble. So we're going to get that fitted now. I've offered the plate into position and it sits, you can just see there's a hole here where this rivet pops through. There's another rivet that goes through here. It sits on top of that nut, but there's actually a rivet on the capping up in here that it's getting in the way. So if I remove this, probably can't see it, but there's a rivet just up here where my finger is. That's going to have to come out, otherwise it's not going to sit flush. So it's quite nice that they come with stainless bolts, so you might as well use them. I wouldn't do them up super tight. We want to have a little bit of movement on there. It tells you to measure 47.7 centimetres, but it doesn't tell you between which points, and it's actually between the bottom plate of this one and the bottom plate of the second one is 47.7. And that means that it lines up there. Look, you can just see the rivet in the middle of those three diagonal slots. So we drill that rivet out and that's our first fixing point, and we'll do that now. Yeah, okay, so we have now got the rear plate fitted. Now we did have to drill through this plate, which is a bit odd because you'd think they've done all these other crazy holes that you don't need. Anyway, so from the outside we got it lined up, as you can see there. And then we literally just drilled through. It went through with a 7mm bit. We went through both the body and the plate at the back, and then with a 9mm. And then we've tightened everything up now, and it seems to be swinging freely. So we'll get these bolts out, get some copper slip on there just to make sure we don't get any corrosion. We've got these little nylon gaskets you can just see in here to help it. And we're pretty much done. In the instructions, it does say, once this is all in position, you're to drill more holes into your bodywork, but we've just hung off this and there's no movement at all. I don't really think it's that necessary to drill additional holes, but you should, because that's what the instructions say, but we're not going to. And then we were looking at this and thinking, how cool is that just as a thing? So forget the tailgate, although we are going to fit it, that just looks really cool. So with a spare wheel, so it's a bit like an American beach runner, you know, put the spare wheel on the back there, just have this swing away, and that's really your rear door. I mean, you don't need anything else. That would probably just do. And with the tubular heavy duty roll cage that's going to be fitted, that would be a really nice finish to the whole truck. So we were just sitting here thinking, gosh, you know, why do we even bother painting up a brand new tailgate? It looks so cool just without. But anyway, you tell us what you think. Do you like the look of it or not? So we were just fitting this retaining strap, yeah? Yeah. Because that's really important, isn't it? So when you're driving, it doesn't swing out and kill a cyclist. And that's not even taking any tension, it's just falling apart. I think we need to rethink that one, don't you? Okay, so we've got the wheel on. You can see there, just inside, we've got the spacer nut. So these are off a steel Defender nut, and it's got a big washer the other side of it. And that just sits the wheel off the bracket slightly, so that when it's shut, obviously the tyre doesn't touch the paint, because you don't want that sort of rubbing and vibrating. That's going to wear away the coating on there and it will start to rust. So this bush here, we used an old spacer. So this is a seatbelt spacer in here, and that just pushes the dogleg out a little bit more. And what it enabled us to do was just get a really nice fitment on here. Look at that. So you've got a little buffer on there, and I think that is something really that should be included in the kit. So there you go, Britpart, my little contribution. Little spacer for your dog leg, and a equally spaced rubber bush would be, you know, the icing on the cake really, just to make that a really nice job. And it sits it out evenly along the back of the vehicle, because otherwise, you know, it's going to be stuck out too far. But anyway, I think that looks right. It doesn't rattle, it performs really well. So now we are going to put the swing away door on. So all I've done this morning off camera is I've just removed the latch off the old door, and it's literally just 4 of these nuts that just unscrew, and that gives you your latch here, look. So this is what we're going to be fitting to the door. I just need to check, I haven't looked, but I think the door is slightly different. So on this one, look, you'll see it's got a hole separate from the handle area, and on ours we don't have that hole because they're not all locking door latches, so we might have to do a hole. Just going to have to offer that up now and have a look and see what's necessary. And the other thing I've just loosened is these 2 nuts on here, and this is for the retainer for the door, and we'll obviously grease it up and get it installed. I didn't want to take it apart just yet. I want to make sure that we've got all these fixings so we know exactly how they go onto the new door, so we'll do that in just a second. We just pushed the bolts through, they've lined up really nicely, no trickery there at all, and it's not been tightened up yet. You can just see there's a good line on there. We've got a good gap. We'll just perhaps drop it down slightly on the hinge on the body, but considering that's just been offered up and put straight on, that's gone on a treat. Now on earlier vehicles you've actually got captive plates that sit across here with 2 studs, threaded studs, and you can actually make fitting these a lot easier because you put the plates in place, they're captive, and then the latch just bolts on. Okay, so we have mocked it up just with these bolts at the moment. We're going to get some shorter bolts, but just to get the fitment in the right place to see where everything lies. And you can just see here, look, this latch, we can move it over slightly probably, Simon, if we just, because the holes are oversized a little bit, so we'll move it over a bit. But ultimately this striker here, I'm going to have to pack that out so this catch just sits over there. And it's also a little bit too low. Now you do get slotted fitment onto the body here, so you can move this around a lot, and I think we'll be able to move it around enough. So we've got the striker now attached to the latch, and that's giving us an idea of where the position of this striker needs to be, and also the gap. So we've got a good, I don't know, 6 to 8 mil gap there. So I think because Land Rovers are Land Rovers, it's going to be always difficult to sort of give you an idea of how exactly to fit these perfectly. You know, you're going to have to fettle around with your own vehicle a little bit depending on how it's been put together. So on this vehicle, Simon wants to just get the shut lines a little bit better, which is hilarious. But anyway, we want to just raise this side up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to elongate these bolts that go through the rear panel here. We're going to go up a little bit on them so we can actually raise the tailgate up slightly on the hinge. And then on these ones here, we're just going to elongate them this way slightly so we can drop the actual tailgate down to set it to sit better. So, you know, you might have to do the same on yours, or you might be doing something different, but, you know, just bear in mind, don't go too mad on these holes. If you can get like a drill saw bit, that's quite a nice little thing to use, or a file take a lot longer. If you've got a Dremel, you can just raise these up, but you can just slot these ever so slightly, and that should do the trick. Well guys, that's about it for this episode. Hopefully you've seen the pitfalls of fitting one of these swing away wheel carriers, but also just to get an idea of just how easy it is to transform the look of a 90. The difficulty obviously you have with projects like this is you're changing the design of the vehicle, and you're always going to come across bits and pieces that you haven't got and that you need to adjust and to modify. But I think the way this is laid out, I mean, all credit to the door. DDS have done a really nice job of that door frame. It's gone on straight away. It's all straight. It's in really good shape. The latch did manage to get on, and as I said before, we didn't opt for the locking piece here. We could have just drilled through there, but it would have gone through the capping as well possibly, which is another reason why we stopped. But that's fine. The rain's coming, so I'm going to sign off now. Hopefully this might be something you'll do to your own vehicle. As you can see, look, it's pretty factory now. All latches up. Okay guys, that is a wrap on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing us do the first stage of the conversion of this 90 into a soft top. As I said before, there'll be a few little bits and pieces you'll need for your own conversion because every vehicle's different. So for now, that's it. I shall see you again very shortly. We're going to be looking at about 3 to 4 weeks before the frame set is here. And when it is, I shall do a quick notification so you don't miss it. And I'll catch you on the next one.